like there were mostly something for me to do. Like, okay, this needs improvement, this needs improvement. Like at the moment, my hold on sensuality can like improve by me being quite established in it, like, or rather, like, you know, being like I'm restraining. I'm restraining even when it comes to thoughts. And okay, I can do this until I'm like, you know, it's where I'm very steady in it. Then I see certain like ill will or I was at the
irritation.
Yeah, irritations, thoughts of cruelty, sort of like finding faults in different things, different people. Those things I can improve on, but it's just that I'm like finding less and less sort of directions for me to, like, what am I going to do next, sort of thing.
Well, you're asking what are you going to do next when you haven't even completed what you're supposed to do now.
Okay.
So what you should do next is be patient. As in, what you should do right now, and next, and next, and next. Like you're trying to figure out what to do next, while you still know these things can be improved on. Why would you do that? Why would you accept that thought and that line of reasoning? Like you might wonder, well, what will I do next? But that's obviously not the issue here.
No, it's frustration, sort of.
Well, exactly, yeah. Which means, so now you're wondering what to do next, while in reality, the only reason you're wondering what to do next is because you still haven't done what you're supposed to do now. So you're frustrated with it, so you want to just have it at the next step as well, in the meantime. And it doesn't work like that. So even if you were to figure out what to do next, it won't be what to do next. It will be simply to appease that frustration or lack of patience. So then the question is, why are you impatient? Why is sitting without doing anything, why is that unpleasant? Why are you looking past it? Why are you not seeing it as something, wait a minute. Like, this is what I can improve on, this is what I can do, yeah, that's all fine. And what do I do next then? Wait. What do I even do before I improve on these things? Which is why I find it unpleasant to sit alone and not have anything to do. Why is that an issue? So what you do next is basically what you need to do first. Not forget your situation. Because when you have thoughts of sensuality, you're restraining that, because that's what the situation is at the time. When you have thoughts of cruelty or ill will, you're restraining that, because that's what the situation is at the time. But then when you have thoughts of neither sensuality nor cruelty, but kind of, pressure of boredom or lack of activity or something unpleasant, then you find something to do instead of dealing with that.
What am I doing to deal with that?
Well, that's the thing. You shouldn't basically be doing anything to deal with it. You should be learning how to endure the neutral feeling, because it's not unpleasant. The only reason neutral feeling is unpleasant is because you keep refusing to acknowledge it. That's the whole point. So even like the pain of boredom, even anxiety and fear of boredom, it's only so because you're refusing to acknowledge it, because you're looking past it.
that's pretty much where the issue is. Where, okay, I'm sort of pressured. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting. I'm pressured. But what do I do next? It's a thought that I shouldn't really entertain.
Well, it's a thought. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a thought that you will have to arise because you've been cultivated. The whole life revolves around figuring out what to do next. Either what sensuality to pursue next, what distraction to pursue next, what problem to avoid next. That's what people's life is. That's why they always need that activity to kind of enable them to keep floating. That's why everybody is afraid of solitude. That's why they say you need to learn how to find pleasure in solitude when there is nothing to do, like that. So until that happens, you will have thoughts of what do I do next? But you also, same like with sensuality, you have an option whether to entertain those thoughts or to endure that state of what do I do next without giving in to define what I do next. Because what I do next is endure the thoughts of what do I do next. That's what you do right now and next. Same principle, just in regard to different things.
I think like sometimes like, or maybe I should try to establish on the body. But I'm like, really? Like, should I do that? Try to do that? Because, you know, I'm trying to find an answer to this. Could that, like, even if I do end up doing that, is it wholesome for me to pursue that, to get to that stage?
Well, again, as we said before, it's not about what you should do. It's about what you won't do. What I do next is a state of mind, state of uncertainty. You can act out of craving and try to get rid of that state of uncertainty by providing answer what you should do next, or you cannot act out of craving. So if you wonder what should you do next, you realize, well, doesn't matter what I will do, I know what I will not do. So that's what you should do. Don't do anything that would be along the lines of things you shouldn't be doing. And then, so what do I do next? I do that. I endure the question of what do I do next. Just basically the practice is just you have to constantly keep undermining that tendency to have things on your own terms, to put yourself first, and then what do I do now? Oh, this I do, or this I don't do. So you're undermining that by not giving in to finding that answer, but by enduring it. Yeah, but what do I do? What do I do? So that's why that state of uncertainty is unpleasant. But again, it's unpleasant only because you don't want it. In itself, it's neither pleasant nor unpleasant.
That's the thing, like, that's why I said, like, it's just like a state of confusion. Like,
yeah, exactly. State of confusion is real as such. For as long as you keep trying to replace it with a state of non-confusion, you're ignoring the nature of the phenomenon as such. Which means your practice, your efforts are then aimed at changing the content of that state, not understanding the nature. Because it's very clear that you are in the state of confusion. There's nothing ambiguous about that. So why do you need to keep trying to define it? State of confusion, confused. He knows confused mind as confused mind, non-confused mind as non-confused mind. It's not like he replaces confused mind with a non-confused mind. That means he doesn't know either. It's basically going beyond doubt. That's what doubt is. State of confusion. What is it? How? And if you keep giving in to seeking the answer of that, you're overlooking that it is very clear as such. Doubt is clear in itself as a doubt. So you can doubt this, you can doubt that, but you cannot doubt that you're experiencing doubt. So that's the level now you need to train towards. Our state of confusion is here. Okay, so the confused mind is present, enduring. Doesn't matter what you're confused about. You know what you will not do, so that's not an issue. There's nothing there to talk about. You just need to uphold that. And now, in terms of, so what do then I do on top of things I don't do? Well, that's something you have to endure. And you realize, oh, that's what I have to do. But you can't do that on your own terms. That's why it can never become the answer. What do I do? I endure that like that. You can even think that, but when you actually start enduring it, it cannot be done on your own terms as something you do. Which is why it never provides that answer that you seek. But that's why it undermines that dependence on the answer you seek. The whole point of practice is to endure the right things. Anybody can endure anything, but not anybody can endure the right things that need to be endured. That's why most people, we have insane amount of determination and commitment and still have completely wrong views. Because they're not enduring the right things.
Yes, that's I think that's pretty much other side of the coin. It's like, how do I know I'm doing the right thing?
Well, again, whatever question presents itself, don't look at the content, don't look at the answer. How do I know am I doing the right thing? What is the experience of that? Oh, it's a state of confusion that we just spoke about. No, that's the whole point. Certain questions will present themselves. You must answer this. But you know it's fine. Yeah, okay, we'll give you that. All the previous questions, that's fine. But this is the one you must. Actually, it's still a question. It's still the same nature. It's still the phenomenon of confusion, the mind of confusion. Oh, so thus I will not answer it.
To a degree, it makes sense that I cannot make confusion provide clarity out of.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You can only act out of trying to get rid of that state, which means you're not doing anything in terms of understanding or overcoming the unpleasantness of that state. You're only replacing it, which means you remain equally liable to it. That's why people who keep kind of habitually acting out of doubt, trying to get rid of the doubt, the unpleasantness of it, by finding the answer, by reclarifying the answer, by revisiting the answer, by rehashing the whole thing that they already know, they can never appease that. Because it's not rational. It's not about providing the answer which you already have. It's about removing that emotional discomfort. And that's not in your rational control. So you're just sort of, squirming and twisting and turning until it hopefully disappears. And then the more you do it, the more dependent you become on doing it. Which means what used to provide the answer won't be enough after a while.
Yeah, that's the thing, like even when you're saying it's not about what you do, what you don't do. I know that's pretty much a decent answer, pretty much. For me, it appears to be a decent answer, but then there's nothing emotionally satisfactory about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's one thing that you're kind of learning through making effort, is to not trust the emotional satisfaction or dissatisfaction as a criteria for what makes sense or not. Everybody starts like that, basically. What pleases you, that's what seems to be right. What displeases you, that's what you take to be wrong. But there is no other criteria there, which means you're judging things as right or wrong simply based on how they make you feel. And you don't want that. And that's the whole point. If people could effortlessly judge right as right, wrong is wrong, regardless of how it makes them feel, they would effortlessly fall into the right view. So it's not incidental that you have to endure the pain and discomfort and seeming confusion in regard to what you kind of know it's right, but you cannot accept because it's so displeasing. If you endure through that, the displeasure will fade away, and then you realize, no, this is right. I always knew this was right. I just had to go through it and endure it. And that's where the right view is. That's going beyond the doubt. You don't go beyond the doubt by satisfying every possible answer you can doubt and be confused about. You go beyond the doubt by being unable anymore to resist the discomfort of doubt. Like, you become stronger, then it doesn't matter the amount of doubt, the amount of discomfort cannot waver your mind in regard to the nature of it. You can still doubt the content, and sometimes even clarify if it needs to be clarified. But you won't have that burden of, I must do that because I don't know any other escape from this.
Yes, like the only reason that I do anything else is because it provides an idea of certainty. Like,
yeah, and that's an inevitable way of starting your practice. Yeah, but sooner or later it's going to reach the dead end. So then you can either, dig up a new inspiration towards something, or change the tradition, or change the monastery, or change the teacher, as people do when their practice runs dry, or eventually disrobe. Or you can realize, but it's not about inspiration, it's not about having something to do, it's about not depending on anything that can be done. That's how you free yourself from karma, not by doing it, but by understanding beyond it.
what do you mean by like inspiration in this instance? Like,
well, like see, like you recognize the problem, as you said, like for example, sensuality. So you are, I can work on this. Yeah, that's fine, and you work on it. But see, that was initially probably enough to keep you within the context of practice. But then a few days later, what do I do next? While I still work on it. Are you free from sensuality? So you ask what to do next. No. Yet here you are asking what to do next. Where's that rooted? Rooted basically in dependence on certain extent of inspiration that now has run dry because you've been repeating the same practice of not giving into sensuality. So you don't get that same inspirational buzz from it, so to speak. So now I quickly need to find something more. What do I do next while I still do this?
Because it's very unpleasant.
Exactly. It's very unpleasant to practice without inspiration. And that's exactly where the practice is. Because if you start practicing like that, then even on the most uninspiring days of your life, you cannot go back. You cannot slip back. You cannot do things that you would regret later. Because you stop acting out of how you feel. But the only way to stop acting on account of how you feel is to go through not acting on account of how you feel. To endure it. Because nothing has changed. The thoughts you had when you were inspired will not, will restrain sensual thoughts. That idea, practice, context hasn't changed. What has changed is how you feel about it. The novelty ran out, the inspiration ran out. So it's like, so now I'm looking for what else do I do on account of basically my feelings changing, not on account of already completing what I had to do or whatever else. So you're just acting on account of how you feel. Trying to avoid the discomfort. And that also kind of ties in with what we spoke before a while back. Like you might, what do I do? What should I do? What should I do? Without realizing you're already doing loads of stuff. You're already sitting on the chair, walking on a meditation path, I don't know, feeding a cat. You're already doing the body's already performing all these things. And you're completely unaware of it. Because the only doing that you recognize is doing on the terms of my own self. I do this, I do that. Failing to see that there's doing happening already. And the only thing, even when yourself does something, is basically yourself can only appropriate that which body does already. Or the body can do already.
it's only appropriated action would come under as intention.
I don't understand.
No, the thing is that, say, the other day I was lying down and I have a habit of wiggling my foot, and I am wiggling my foot, and I'm like, I don't see any intention of me doing that, but I'm doing that. So, what else am I missing, sort of thing?
Right. Well, no, there are those things that you're doing kind of sub-intentionally, so to speak. And those things are not things you necessarily need to worry about. It's the intention determines whether the thing is going to be wholesome or unwholesome. If there is no intention, there's no action. Certainly no action that you should worry about. But when you intentionally choose to, I don't know, wiggle your foot because it provides you with physical pleasure, let's say, oh, that's a completely different intention, a completely different action now, because it's rooted in completely different things. It's the same thing externally, but that's not what determines whether action is wholesome or unwholesome. It's whether it's rooted in wholesome or unwholesome internally.
My responsibility towards sensuality is, whenever I see a sensual thought, not to be involved with it, or not like restrain myself from it.
Yeah, restrain from welcoming it, delighting in it, thinking more on account of it, towards it, letting it basically fester. You cannot prevent them from arising.
Yeah.
But you can prevent them from staying by not entertaining them.
The underlying tendencies or whatever, it's not really my responsibility.
Yeah, they're indirect responsibilities. See, you know that you're not free from sensuality. So you know that simply by welcoming sensual thoughts, because you're not free from sensuality, by welcoming them, sensuality will increase. Underlying tendencies will increase. So you know that indirectly, by accepting this, I am actually resulting in causing the underlying tendency to increase, which means it's going to be coming more and more often then.
But just because I'm restraining, I cannot expect them to dry out.
You can expect them to dry out, but you don't know when they will dry out. Yeah, you can know that, well, I'm not entertaining it. Thus, if I'm not entertaining it, I am not fueling whatever underlying tendencies there are. Which means simply by not entertaining, you are drying them up. And you can know that for sure. It's just that people usually want more. They want to know how long I have to do this. And you can't know that. And that's the simile in the sutta of the axe handle. The carpenter uses his axe every day. And the handle is wearing thin. But he doesn't know how much it's wearing thin. But he keeps using it. He doesn't care how much it's wearing thin. He's using the handle. And then, whatever, a few years later, he comes and realizes, oh, I have to replace my handle now. It's way too thin. It's unusable. Gone. Faded away. Yeah, don't think of the practice in general, but in this particular instance, don't think of, oh, I will do this and then to achieve like a certain goal, like freedom from sensuality. I will restrain my thoughts and then I will achieve the freedom from sensuality. You should think of it more like, I will restrain my thoughts and that's my goal. Basically, to develop a type, like a state of being that is about restraint of sensual thoughts, not about indulgence of sensual thoughts. So that's your goal. That sense restraint becomes your norm, not other way around. That sense restraint becomes effortless, not other way around. And if that becomes your goal, which means if that becomes your goal, it will be impossible to not have your efforts directed towards that goal. So if that becomes your goal, with all of your invested effort, it will be impossible to not be free from sensuality.
Yeah, in certain ways that became the goal, then the inspiration started drying out. So it's
like what happens is when that becomes your goal to be free from sensuality, well, basically that goal is on the basis of sensuality. It's on the basis of craving. So you start like that, but you want to refine it further and recognize that, well, can you have freedom from sensuality without sense restraint? Impossible. Can you be free from sensuality yet not be sense restrained? Impossible. So sense restraint needs to be there either way. So why don't I make sense restraint my goal regardless of whether I'm free from sensuality or not? Sense restraint will be my mode of being for the rest of my life. And then you'll be free from sensuality if you stick to that. It's like the other simile, the Buddha said, the hen lies on her eggs. So whether she wishes the chicks pierce out safely and come into this world healthy and alive, or whether she doesn't wish that, they will if she lays on her eggs, if she makes the effort. But if she gets too busy figuring out what will she do with the chicks when they come out, and how much she'll enjoy them and look after them, she forgets to sit on the eggs, they won't come out. Even if she has all the inspiration and determination for them to come out, they won't, because she's not creating the necessary basis for it. So that's what I mean. You start by wanting your chicks, but then you realize, okay, so how will that come to be? So you start by wanting to be free from underlying tendency towards sensuality. But then you refine that further and see, how would that come to be? Well, that would have to come to be through the sense restraint. So that's my goal now. Because for you, from where you are at, sense restraint equals freedom from underlying tendency, prevention of underlying tendency, drying up of sensuality. And if there is anything more within that you need to do, it will be done again only within sense restraint that you have to do, not in place of or instead of. Which means you just have to start doing the sense restraint. And then if there is anything more, it will show itself through what you're already doing. So it goes same for like ill will. You make your goal to become have a state of being that's based on non-ill will. Regardless of what's in front of you and what thoughts present themselves. Thoughts of ill will, thoughts of hatred. You don't welcome, you don't cherish, you don't delight in, you don't entertain it. That's your goal. You don't have to worry about what's going to come as a result of it, because you already know what will come as a result of it. You already know that as long as you lay on the eggs, chicks will have to roost. They will have to come out. Even if you don't think about it. You just don't need to think about it.
Well, as a belief though, right? Like
it's not even a belief. You already recognize on some level that sense restraint implies non-sensuality, creates absence of sensuality. You don't know to what extent, but you already see the thread, you already see the connection.
too busy trying to figure it out that it's sort of that's sort of too little to acknowledge, isn't it? Like the
Say that again?
like what you just said, like that I already know a certain.
Yeah, it's too little to acknowledge, exactly. You need more. But the only reason you need more is because you've been craving for more. So if you undo that craving, you realize, I don't need anything. Doesn't matter how subtle it is, it's more than enough. That's when you basically stop needing any inspiration for practice. That's when you become that practice. You don't need to be doing it.
For that state of confusion has to run out of its course.
Yeah, you might be confused in regard to certain content or certain choices or what to do here, what to do there, but you will not be confused in regard to the nature, in regard to the order of things. The order of things is you need to lay on the eggs for chicks to roost. There is absolutely no other way there. That's just how it works. Yet here you are, knowing that, ignoring that, and worrying what school will you send your chicks into, and what will they wear, and what will they do, and how will you teach them this. And then at the expense of that, you're forgetting that you need to sit on the eggs. Because now you're getting, oh, I'm confused, so what do I do? So you start being confused even about what you knew. Because you've been giving in to trying to get rid of the confusion. Failing to see, well, it doesn't matter how confused I am about how will I raise my chicks. I cannot be confused about the nature of that being present there. Chicks will come as a result of laying on the eggs. Sensuality cannot manifest if I mold my being into the sense restraint, not other way around. Then what will I do next? I'll figure out when that comes. In the meantime, I know what I will not do.